Thank you so much for tuning in to Respect Her Game. And if you're enjoying this show, make sure you check out some of Nesson's other podcasts, including Boston Has Entered the Chat, which is Nesson's daily sports show. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Respect Her Game. I'm Laura Stickells. That is Annabelle Hasselbeck, and we are bringing you our very first Respect Her Game episode of 2025. But before we, get into this new year, we're going to reflect this episode on some of our favorite moments of 2024. We're going to talk some NCAA volleyball. We're going to talk college basketball, college football bowl games, NFL high school musical crossover. Tons of stuff we're talking about today.
The best things.
Yes, tons of stuff we're talking about today. But first, Annabelle, how was your Christmas?
It was so good. Thank you for asking. Got to spend time with my family. My siblings have been at college, so nice to be with them. And no one got cold, which is a good thing. Everyone was treated well.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I had a great Christmas as well. We were talking before. I'm exhausted. I think somehow you get to this age and just somehow going home and having a vacation just drains you even more. I can't understand it. But what is one of your favorite gifts that you've gotten over your lifetime?
That is a great question. Christmas is one of my favorite times of year, and it has been my whole life. I was so into it growing up as a kid. I think one of my best memories from Christmas, opening a gift wise, was we were living in Seattle, and we came home, and usually Santa came in the morning, and that's was our normal routine, was he would come on Christmas morning. But we came back from Christmas Eve church service, and Santa had already come Christmas Eve, so it was this huge surprise. And I opened a flip phone, and it was a huge deal. I was able to have not one, not two, but 8 contacts in this flip phone, okay? It was amazing. It consisted of my parents, my grandparents, maybe my one cousin, and my best friend who had a phone at the time, and couldn't make any calls. I think I could text 6 words, but that was a huge deal. I was freaking out. I could flip it open, take a pic. It was very exciting for me.
That is a really big deal. How old were you?
I was probably 11.
Okay, I got my first phone in 7th grade.
Okay.
And it was one of those, it wasn't a flip one, it was one that you slid up.
Slid up.
Yes.
No, mine was a little more of the old school. It was the flip up, very small text. My fingers had to be so small to be able to type those little buttons in with all the, so fun.
No, I loved my old phone back then. Sometimes I'm maybe we should go back to that. You know who has a flip phone still, or did for a really long time?
Andrew Luck. Boom.
Yes.
Stanford. I know.
Andrew Luck.
I got an iPhone before he did.
Yes. Definitely.
He might still have.
Yeah, I think he might still have one.
Andrew, we're wondering, do you still have a flip phone?
Yes.
Please let us know.
Well, I don't even think a flip phone could save you from the internet chaos that happened on Saturday, and that was all because of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It was impossible to get on my phone on Saturday and not see Pop-Tarts content back to back to back to back to
They
back.
marketed so well. They did. Now, anytime I go into a grocery store, I'm going to be thinking about Pop-Tarts.
No, it's true. Whoever in charge of marketing at Pop-Tarts needs a massive raise, because this was a huge success. And last year, the Pop-Tarts Bowl got a lot of publicity. It was the first time it happened. People were what's going on with the Pop-Tarts Bowl? They toasted their mascot last year. It was a lot of fun, but they took it to a completely different level this year. They built off of all of the stuff they did last year. They had 3 mascots this year. You just saw them up there: Hot Fudge Sundae, Wild Berry, and Cinnamon Roll. They did another Pop-Tart sacrifice again, but this time they brought in kind of a Hunger Games element to it, where
it was very dramatic, and I didn't even know that there was a hot fudge flavor. So that's something too.
True. Great marketing there as well. But they were competing to the death. Did you know that? So
no.
They had different competitions going on throughout the game. They must have happened at halftime, and whichever one lost was the one that was going to get toasted.
Terrifying. Well, these guys were also, whoever was in the Pop-Tart too, they were at the coin toss. There was a photo. I was
they were all at the coin toss as well. And then one of them, I think it might have been Cinnamon Roll, was spanking one of the refs.
Well, Pop-Tart, you guys really put on a show. I'm sure there was a lot of rehearsal that went into this, and you got to get jacked up too to be able to be in that costume that entire game. And in that competitive environment, it was, like you said, Hunger Games-esque.
No, but true, they had sprinkles on the sideline. The sideline paint had sprinkles on it. They had 3 mascots. They had the massive toaster oven. They had the toaster oven in the trophy. The one other thing too that I thought was really funny was that they had Pop-Tart resurrection almost of like last year. Like the Pop-Tart that died last year, they brought it back to life, and they had him come up on like the scoreboard. I don't know if you saw that, but he was like standing up on like really high in one of the end zones, like almost next to one of the video boards, and he was like leashed in, and they had somebody, because he was like right up on the edge. This feels like it needs
to be like a Disney show, like a documentary series, but like they could make this into a literal like animated TV show.
Yes, and like they had like the hallelujah like, music playing in the background as he's like,
we're like in our 20s and we're like the sprinkles, the resurrection, the Hunger Games ceremony. Like imagine if you're like a 10 or 11-year-old kid, like this must have been the best bowl game to watch.
And I also honestly think that like this is meant for TV. Like I don't think this would have been quite as good to watch in person. I really thought though that this was made for TV, and they obviously did a really great job with it. Nicole Auerbach, she tweeted that last year after the 2023 game, Pop-Tart sold 21 million more toaster pastries in the 8 weeks following the game than in the 8 weeks prior. So like this just really goes to show the impact that these bowl games, if done right, can have on your company. And it's so fun. Like they've made bowl games fun, because for such a long time, like I just felt like some of these bowl sponsorships were so boring, and it's like, what is the point of these bowl games? But like I don't know, I just feel like there's purpose to the Pop-Tarts Bowl because it's so fun.
It's so fun. And I wonder, like, I know that impact definitely helped Pop-Tarts, you know, financially for their company, but has this had any effect on you, Laura?
Well, you know, I was just gonna bring this up. I have still never had a Pop-Tart. I revealed that I think on our last episode.
I will say I don't eat Pop-Tarts regularly. I probably haven't had a Pop-Tart in like 8 years, but I've had a Pop-Tart before.
I've never had one, but we're gonna change that right now.
Right.
We're gonna change that right now. Annabelle brought some Pop-Tarts.
From Roach Brothers. Okay. Pop-Tart frosted strawberry. This was the flavor I chose for your first Pop-Tart.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest.
No,
like I'm kind of a picky eater, and
we discussed before you can't not like it if there is, and Laura actually guessed the literal amount of sugar in this Pop-Tart, 31 grams.
She asked me the number of grams. I was like, I think 30.
You know what's great? It's great. I'll give the Pop-Tart out at this point. There's 2 Pop-Tarts in one little package.
Wait, you know what I love too is that now that I'm seeing the actual packaging on the broadcast, they had the Pop-Tarts, the mascots like strip out of there.
Check it out for yourself.
They had the Pop-Tart mascots strip out of the little like.
Oh, they did it all, and when it came out of the toaster oven, the players were literally eating the prop.
Yeah, like, they were eating
from the costume design to the people in the suits themselves. They did everything right. Okay, Laura.
Okay.
We're stalling here. We got to get you to eat this. Okay, for you.
Okay.
It's really,
and it's not. We're not toasting.
It's really good looking. Oh yeah, we're not toasting them.
We're just. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go to 3.
Cheers.
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 Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You have to get the jelly. Oh, you got.
Oh.
Sorry, Ness.
Sorry. Okay, wait. I need 3 bites. 3 bites.
3 bites. On what baking show or cooking show do they let you take 3 bites? It's usually like a 1 bite. Give your top.
Baking
give
show.
Give your
respect your game.
Just like spit it up. Okay, that was not on camera. Don't laugh. Not a good sign. All right,
pretty good.
This is my last piece. Okay, Laura, what's your take?
This is pretty good. I like it actually. Mm-hmm. Wait, I need to put.
What would you compare it to?
That's a good question. I don't know. It just tastes like I don't know what it would compare it to.
A Pop-Tart. It's one of a kind.
I like truly don't. I don't know what it's like. It just tastes like some, like maybe softer sugar cookie dough. Yeah. With like some frosting on it.
I'm gonna finish that later. Actually, that was
jelly. Yeah, I was like, that was pretty good. Yeah. Actually, I really enjoyed that.
I really liked that. Yeah. Well, I would love to know if anybody wants to let us know what your favorite Pop-Tart flavor is.
Well, we'll keep testing.
We'll keep testing. Or Pop-Tarts. If you want to send us. When I was at the store yesterday they had Oreo, which I didn't know was a Pop-Tart flavor. Maybe that's normal. Now we learned hot fudge. So. Excited to see what else they have.
And you know what's actually kind of crazy? Because everybody's talking about the Pop-Tarts and the marketing. Nobody's even bringing up the fact that it was a really great game, too.
Yes.
Iowa State
sorry.
beat Miami 42-41. Like, it was a thrilling game, but nobody's talking about it because of the marketing for the Pop-Tart Bowl. It was incredible. There was one other bowl game that we were going to bring up too, because we talked during the Olympics about how the fact that Snoop Dogg was just kind of showing up everywhere all around the Olympics. And it was like, okay, this is kind of interesting for Snoop Dogg to be involved in sports in this way, but like, I'm here for it. That has continued. Now he is sponsoring the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Apparently he has some sort of alcohol company, Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. They were the presenting sponsor, and it was actually kind of cool because it's the first alcoholic beverage or company to sponsor a bowl game ever. But still, it was just pretty funny seeing like Snoop Dogg all around this bowl.
You know, when he was in the Olympics, I absolutely ate it up. I thought it was so funny just watching him, whether he was in the broadcast, in the crowd with the fans, whether he was doing the sport himself. And to see him now in this environment is pretty funny. But kind of like the Pop-Tart, it really is bringing a lot of attention to bowl games.
Yes, no, it definitely is. And it was fun too because he like called two of the quarters. He called, I think, the second and the third quarter. He was like in the CW broadcast booth. So just fun to see people get involved in that way and see Snoop Dogg, you know, get out there.
Maybe he'll make it to the Super Bowl or the college football national championship.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Okay, so we also have a little bit of a CFP preview. Obviously, the first round games already happened. And I know that these quarterfinal games, by the time that this episode comes out, those will be over. But we're still going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some of the main storylines, at least going into it, which are going to be important kind of regardless or not of how these games end. But, you know, the names of these CFP games, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Peach Bowl, you know, Are they as good as the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Should the Pop-Tarts Bowl be a playoff game?
Honestly, after that performance, I think that they can definitely be in the conversation. But the Rose Bowl, those are all
they're
other
historic games.
Iconic. So I don't really think they're going to go away. But Pop-Tart, you gave a really great presentation.
Yeah, I have to say, like,
and a good product.
I still, if I was a player, I would still rather go to like the Rose Bowl, just considering the history of the game and
such a cool stadium.
Such a cool stadium. I went to 3 Rose Bowls and it was always beautiful. But you know what? I do think like having the Pop-Tarts Bowl as a consolation prize for the teams that don't get in is not a bad one. Okay, you brought this story to my attention. ASU running back Cam Skattebo. He is kind of like, he's not trash talking. He's just like pumping himself up. He said, there's nobody out there that can stop me right now. They're playing Texas in the quarterfinals. And you know what? It kind of reminded me a little bit of when I was a sophomore in college and Stanford was playing Iowa in the Rose Bowl. And the Iowa players were trash talking Christian McCaffrey. And then Christian McCaffrey absolutely popped off that game. Like first play from scrimmage, runs in for a touchdown, like crazy game. And it was just like Christian McCaffrey like should have won the Heisman that year. That's what everybody was talking about after that game. And Cam Skattebo, he was 5th in Heisman voting, only player in the country with 1,000 plus rushing yards and 400 plus yards receiving. He even missed one game, but it was kind of funny because I was thinking about this sort of comparison to Christian McCaffrey and how, you know, there was trash talking, but with Cam, it's a little different because he's more like self-promoting himself. But the last player to hit those marks that I just said was Christian McCaffrey in 2015. So I think the parallels are interesting. And I'm kind of the opinion, like, you can say whatever you want if it's about yourself. Like, if I was a coach, I wouldn't care. Like, just be yourself. And if that means like pumping yourself up or saying like nobody can stop me, being super confident, I think that's a good thing. I just think like maybe when it gets to the line of like trash talking the other team before the game starts, then maybe it's like, I don't know if that's necessarily the greatest idea, but I don't have a problem with it.
Right, and this team has definitely been more of that like underdog mentality. People have doubted them. People are kind of questioning why they are where they are right now, having that bye week.
Last
right,
in the Big
exactly.
12. Yeah,
and he's like you said earlier, he's upset he wasn't at that Heisman ceremony in New York. He definitely has conveyed in very subtle ways that he does think he's better than Ashton Jenney from Boise State, the running back there. And so he's confident, like you said. He's definitely not putting others down, I would say, but this is definitely a team that has had multiple transfers, all guys who weren't starters at their former universities and now have really stepped into huge roles for Arizona State. So this is going to be a very hot team that definitely believes that they should be in that championship game.
Yeah, but what do you think about the fact that, like, I feel like some people don't like it when players are super confident in themselves. They think it's a bad thing, or like you shouldn't be saying that about yourself. I don't feel that way. What do you think?
It's hard because there is definitely a line, right? You never want to put down, or in my opinion, you shouldn't be putting down your opponent in that way. However, you do have to, when you're in that, underdog situation, vouch for yourself and really show that you have belief in not only yourself as a player, but your team. At the same time, you better be ready to back it up with your play. So if you're going to talk the way you're going to talk and say that you're the best running back in the game, then show it, right?
Yeah.
Show it on game day. And he has done that, right? Like, he does have the stats to prove it, but playoff football, anyone's game, so we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game. Another interesting game is going to be Georgia-Notre Dame. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck underwent surgery. He's not playing. So sophomore Gunnar Stockton, he's the backup. He'll be in. He played some of the SEC championship, and it does really seem like the team is rallying around him. And even Kirby Smart said that. He was like, it seems like the team elevates their play whenever he's in, and they really they're rallying around him. And I think it's just really cool to see, a player that obviously could be a starter at another school, not transfer, really stick it out and have an opportunity like this in a really big moment.
Yeah, like you said, this guy's been here for 3 seasons, so he might be new to kind of what we're all seeing in the media, but he's not new to the program. He's not new to his teammates. He's been getting all of those backup reps. He's been getting reps against the number 2s, even the number 1s, right? And so that Texas game, that was a little break the ice moment for him. And just, I know as a former athlete, when you're able to kind of break the ice, and maybe it was in a prior game and then you have to play most of the next game, it kind of settles you in a little bit. And he really showed a lot of confidence from the get-go. So I'm excited to see him, but man, what a turn of events for this team.
Yes, no, I think that's going to be a really exciting game also. And if you're enjoying this show, make sure you tune in every Thursday. New episodes drop on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, well, Annabelle, on the last episode that we recorded that came out in 2024, we were previewing the NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship, which happened, and it was so exciting. We got to see the national championship matchup had 2 female head coaches, so it guaranteed the fact that there was going to be a female head coach to win the NCAA Volleyball Championship
for the first time ever.
It was Katie Schumacher-Cauley, who is the head coach for Penn State, so they won their 8th natty, taking down Louisville, and such a cool moment for her. I mean, I think obviously it's the fact the first woman ever to do this, which is it's shocking to me that it took so long in a women's sport like this.
Right. I said it to somebody during, before the game. They're like, that's not true. Like, what do you mean? It's women's volleyball. I'm like, no, literally, there has not been a head coach who is a female to win the national championship, which is so crazy, but that's just what it is. And so awesome to see Penn State pull this out.
Yes. And then on top of that, she's going through cancer treatment. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, so she's currently fighting that. And to be able to do all of that this season, to be able to accomplish that this season is just incredible. And after the game, one of the reporters asked her what it's like knowing that she's inspired so many people because of this, and this is what she had to say.
I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by so many great people, from this team to the staff I have, and I'm just really lucky to have great people around me that go above and beyond. And I think I said in the other press conference, I'm inspired by the young kids that are sick. I told you I'm doing treatment at UPenn, and every time I walk into the hospital, I walk right past the children's hospital. And so, sure, if I can be inspiration to someone, then I take that. But, I feel good, and I'm lucky to have the people around me, and I think that's why we're successful.
Yeah, she's obviously incredibly humble. She never wants to take any of the recognition or put the conversation on herself, but I do think it's a really big story, and it was super inspiring, and I just think that this season was really meant to be for Penn State.
It was so special, and especially at her alma mater, where she did win a national championship as well, and she's not really bringing that up, right? I think later in the press conference, someone asked her, hey, is it more special winning as a player, as a coach? And she was like, honestly, I don't know. And then later she came and she's like, probably as a coach. This is pretty awesome. So happy happy for Penn State. What an incredible story.
Yeah, and you know what? You picked them. They were your pick.
I did pick them. I was going to say it, but I did.
So good job, Annabelle. It was also really cool because after, the reporter asked her, what's it like knowing you've inspired so many people? They then asked each of the girls that was up on stage, all the seniors, how has she inspired you, or what has she kind of given to you guys? And they all said amazing, like really nice, kind things. But one thing that kind of stuck out to me was one of the athletes said, she shows you that like you can be more than just one thing. She said a lot of times as women you're told like you can only be an athlete, or you can only be a mom, or you can only put yourself into business, but you can do everything. And just whenever you're doing one thing, just make sure you're giving yourself 100% to that, but you're not just limited to being one person or one thing. And I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome too. And you can do multiple things and still succeed at the highest level, which is really cool. And her even just saying how the team went above and beyond for her, like that's what it takes to win national championships, and that's what it takes to get that far in the season when it's long and you're tired and you're banged up and all the things. And so just really cool to see the support system that those girls had for her.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what else is really cool? Because, when you're talking about things like cancer, it's obviously like really heavy and really tragic. But I think something that's nice is seeing how sports communities can really rally around people. Like it seems like is the case for her. It's also the case with PWHL former goalie Erica Howe, who was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer a few months ago. And the Toronto Scepters, who was her former team, they did a bra toss at the game on December 20th to raise awareness for breast cancer, and they also were able to donate $60,000 worth of bras to a local women's shelter, which I thought was really cool because like those are items that most women don't have access to if you're at a homeless shelter. So that was really cool, but also just a way to really promote awareness around this issue, which I know people are really aware of, but sometimes I just feel like around the holidays things like that can get overlooked. Yeah. And I think it's really cool to see these communities rallying around.
Yeah, and both teams came on the ice and literally surrounded her, and it was like almost a perfect circle. And just for her to have that moment and to see the people and the teams and the PWHL backing her and supporting her, right? This isn't a league that's been around for years and years and years and years, right? Like we see how the NFL and other leagues have rallied around certain players who are also battling cancer, which is so special and so cool. And it's awesome to see the PWHL do the same, and just for her to have that special moment. And I'm pretty sure one of her former teammates from Toronto was actually the one who like cut her hair before her chemo treatment, and just like such a cool way to see this team and really the league as a whole celebrating her.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? Like as more people watch women's sports, it allows for stuff like this to happen, right? Because it's, one thing for your team to support you in front of an empty stadium. It's another thing for your team and your community to support you in front of like tons of fans and on television networks where people are watching. And I really think like that is due in big part, obviously, to the increase in popularity in women's sports, and to see it kind of have this impact, I think is really huge. And kind of in speaking of the growth of women's sports in viewership, before Christmas, we were talking about the USC UConn game, which was going to take place on December 21st, 2.23 million viewers. For just like a regular season women's basketball game. It was the most watched NCAA women's basketball game this season. And it was a great game too. Like the women did not disappoint. USC won 72-70. First win over UConn ever. It's wild because
USC is good.
Yes, this was a huge moment for USC. And at the same time, UConn was also the team that beat them in the Elite Eight last year. So just a huge win for USC.
No, that game was like a movie, and that UConn crowd, absolutely insane. So how impressive of it really for USC to go in there and beat UConn at home. All eyes were on Paige and Juju in that matchup. They both going at it with each other, but just such beautiful basketball. Both teams knew where each other were going to be before they even threw the ball in the air. The chemistry is incredible. The level that they're playing at is absolutely insane, and just really fun to see that environment. Like one day I want to go in person to a UConn women's basketball game. That is on my bucket list. Hey, maybe that's one of my New Year's resolutions.
We should do that together. That would be fun.
Yeah, let's go.
That would be cool. Anyways, after the game, this is what USC head coach Lindsay Gottlieb said about the meaning of this win over UConn.
This is a really significant win, and it's a really significant win because of the stature of UConn's program and what Gina Auriemma has done for our sport. I told them in there, for me, for my entire kind of high school and on, this is what basketball excellence was. This is what we saw, and it's challenged all of us to want to be better, to find players who want to be better and be that elite. And I don't think that's gone away. It doesn't matter to me, that they haven't won a championship in a couple of years. There's still a way that they prepare, a way that they play that makes you better, and it made us better. And so that for me is really significant. And I will also say, relative to UConn, Sarah Strong's going to make a lot more game-winning shots than she ever misses. And when you win, you always have to think about the other side. That kid is so good. And she had a chance to tie it. And for her, I think we all should know what a great player she is, and the future is incredibly bright. She's so hard to guard. I'm just really proud of our team. I mean, I can't say it in enough ways. When we lost to Notre Dame, it was really easy. It would have been really easy to blame people, to fracture apart, to listen to outside stuff. And I said, hey, as long as we stick together, this can make us better. And it has. It has, in every way.
So what Lindsay Gottlieb just said reminded me a lot of what UCLA's head coach said after they beat South Carolina. And that's like, this win means a lot because of how good of a team that UConn is in the history behind that program. So huge win for USC. And I loved too what she said about Sarah Strong. Obviously, she missed some key free throws at the end of the game with the opportunity to tie it. But like she said, she's just a freshman, she's a young player, and she's going to have more of those opportunities, which she is going to make. So
it is really incredible to see how kind and thoughtful and the respect that these head coaches in women's college basketball are giving other programs, the top programs, right? Yes. This isn't happening after every press conference, but it's just such a very different vibe. I know it's not all super, rivalry games like some of these college football games ever, but this isn't a flag planting vibe that we're getting really from these coaches. And it's cool to hear not only them protect players who are probably going to face some media scrutiny for missing free throws at the end of the game, but also be like, hey, we know that this team can come back and they could have won that game. And so I'm just excited to see how this carries over in the postseason. But man, women's college basketball is hot right now.
Yes. And you know what I love too? At the beginning of every press conference, it almost seems like the coaches are like, wow, there's a lot of people in this room, which is really cool. It's like they're excited about the media coverage. They're excited that so many people are there. And that's what Lindsay said too when she got there. She's like, wow, there's a ton of people here. She seemed really excited about that. And that was the exact same thing that the UCLA head coach said, a month ago or whenever that game was. She was like, wow, there's a ton of people in this room. And it's just so cool to see this kind of coverage around women's basketball, especially not even during the playoffs. These are regular season games. And it's not just one or two teams anymore. It's not just Iowa because Caitlin Clark is playing. It's these are UCLA, obviously USC's these are top programs, but the top programs in the past not necessarily have been getting this coverage. So,
and there's 6 undefeated teams still right now,
yes,
which is absolutely crazy. And really, depending on the next couple games, and we'll see some of these top matchups, it's really going to shift a lot.
Yeah. And you know what? Your UCLA Bruins that you picked as one of your teams to watch, they're still number 1 in the AP poll.
Listen, they had a fire preseason media day that I was just believing in them. People coming back. They got a few transfers. So it's looking good for the Bruins.
Yeah. It's also looking good for UNC. They're 13-2, and they got a very special guest who came in after their win over Miami on Sunday. It was Asia Wilson, and the way that these girls freaked out was amazing.
It was like me at my first One Direction concert. If you've ever seen the video.
I've seen that video.
Yes, Laura's seen that video. That's how it was.
See, look at her. You can see one of the players in the background just overcome. She's almost in tears, and Asia is in the background calm down. It's okay. But you know what? I love this too because Asia went to South Carolina, UNC and they're rival schools, but they're still so hyped up to see her. So, no, I loved that video, and but what I couldn't figure out, and I was trying to do a lot of research on this, I couldn't figure out why she was there.
I don't know either, but pretty awesome, and I love how she surprised them. I'm pretty sure that she said, good win, guys, probably coming from the back of the room or that entrance of the door. So they all probably thought she was a coach or she was an administrator or somebody just coming in to say congrats. And, man, the look on their faces was there is no way Asia Wilson is in this locker room right now.
It would have been if Taylor Swift or somebody walked into the room.
Totally.
It was crazy. Who would you have that reaction to?
Oh, in my BC lacrosse locker room?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a lacrosse player, but if somebody were to walk in and be good game, guys, who would you?
Honestly, I think in the lacrosse sense, any of my teammates would probably say the same thing. We would freak out if any of our alumni came back.
That's so true.
Literally anyone. And I have to shout out Kate Taylor. She actually works here at Nesson. She was a Boston College women's lacrosse icon to me and so many others. And if Kate walked in the room, in our locker room, I mean, she would come back for alumni days and like we would be like crying because these were the girls who built the foundation of our program. They like got the team to where they are right now and really gave us the dream that we would be able to succeed and be able to play at Boston College, and they were so unbelievably welcoming. So Kate Taylor, you're a rock star. If you walked in the locker room, and you did multiple times for the alumni games, it brought literal tears to my eyes, and it was so fun just because those were girls and her whole class who I looked up to growing up. So alumni.
I love that you said that because that hadn't even occurred to me, but you're so right. Every time we had an alumni come back to one of our practices to like sit in the launch and watch, like everyone would be screaming. We'd be so excited. And it's like, they're kind of like big sisters that, once they graduate and it's like, I don't know when I'm going to see this person again. And it is so special when you get to see them and like they hold such a special place in your heart.
So cool.
I put Simone Biles.
Okay. That's a great answer.
I was like,
I would probably freak out
because
I
was trying to look at their reaction. Like, who would I be in tears for, like sobbing if I saw them? And I was like, there's not a lot of people out there that I would have that reaction to. Like, I don't really get very starstruck.
So Simone, I'll plan a surprise for Laura. You'll come in the side door over here while we're recording.
I don't get very starstruck usually, but I do think that if Simone Biles were to walk in a room when I was not expecting it, I would probably lose my mind. Now, if I was expecting it, like I had to interview her or something, which, hopefully I get to do one day, I would be fine and I would be prepared. But if it was like, hey, like, good podcast, guys.
No, that's exactly what I'm having to walk in. Great podcast,
Great
Laura.
podcast, guys. I would probably lose my mind. Well, if you're enjoying this show, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, well, Annabelle, the Minnesota Vikings defense has done it again. And when you saw that Cameron Bynum recovered a fumble in the first quarter against their game against Green Bay on Sunday, you knew that something was coming because he has become like Minnesota's dance team captain. It's like week after week, he's putting together these electric turnover celebrations, and he's getting the entire defense involved as well. This time he did High School Musical's We're All in This Together dance. I mean, what was your reaction to this? And if you didn't know that it was We're All in This Together, would you have known the dance?
100% High School Musical is literally one of my most favorite films of all time. So I definitely knew what he was doing. And I actually, during COVID, tried to memorize that dance with my sister. So it is not an easy dance. So props to the Vikings for getting that done. But I just love this, obviously, because I think it's super fun and it's so entertaining. But also for the Vikings, it's a testament to their team culture. And when you're in your hotel the night before a game, you're watching film, you're studying some other things, but you also are just trying to get your mind off the game as well. And what a fun way for them to do this at the team hotel, rehearsing probably the night before the game, and getting to see that behind the scenes content is super cool.
And it's clearly not impacting their performance on the field either, because they do lead the NFL in forced turnovers. So
everybody else should start doing dance routines.
And I was ready for this. Like, I knew this was coming, like I said, because they do this week after week. The one thing, though, it seemed like the only people that didn't know this was coming was the Fox broadcast crew, because they panned away. The only reason why we have that video and we have the footage was because I think it was Minnesota's social team was prepared. Like, they were on their A game. So, if you're broadcasting the Minnesota Vikings games, like, just be aware. Just be a little bit more aware. Something like this is going to happen.
They have been practicing.
And people are going to want to see it. But, like, the behind-the-scenes footage, too, of them practicing is always so
real.
Funny.
It's so good.
See, look at them. They're, like, in the hotel. They're, like, clapping and chanting. And they do a really great job. The one thing I will say, though, because I've seen so many of their performances at this point, I didn't feel like this one was their best.
Okay. I
didn't feel like this one was their best. I feel like they could have used a little bit more practice. It looked like some of the players just kind of like forgot the moves, which, I'm not good with choreography either, so I wouldn't be able to remember it myself, but they've done some really good ones. I would put that one kind of like in the middle of the rankings of the various celebrations that Cameron Bynum has done with his teammates. But you brought whiteboards.
I brought whiteboards, and we're gonna
rank them. So these are the ones that they've done so far. If I'm missing one, let me know, but I'm pretty sure these are all of them. They've done High School Musical, White Chicks, like the dance from White Chicks. I've never seen White Chicks, but
I haven't either.
It was a cool dance. The Parent Trap handshake. The Camp Rock celebration, that was their last one that they did.
Which the Jonas Brothers commented on. I think they like tweeted about it. And I absolutely love that. So I would love to see like Zac Efron.
He did.
Oh, did Zac Efron comment
reposted it on his Instagram and said like nailed it, as well as Vanessa Hudgens. I think she
so
reposted
good.
as well. And then the last one was the Reagan imitation. If you not familiar with that, Reagan was the break dancer that had some questionable performances at the Olympics, so he imitated her and actually did a really good job. So
okay, we're ranking.
We're gonna rank.
Okay.
Let's see. I wrote mine down ahead of time because I spent a lot of time.
You wrote yours down. Oh, you already.
Yeah,
I already decided.
Yeah, I did already decide ahead of time.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to choke in the moment. And like my rankings are based on one, creativity as well as execution.
Okay, well, my rankings are literally just based off of what I like the best.
Okay.
As content.
Okay.
I
mean, like, for me, I think, like I said, I thought the High School Musical one was really good. My only thing was like,
some people weren't as bought in.
no, it wasn't that they were bought in. Like, you saw them rehearsing. They're clearly bought in, but I just felt like they forgot. Like, they forgot the moves, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if they were being judged. You know what I would love to see, actually, is them do something with the actual dance team. Like, the actual
like
Minnesota Vikings with the cheerleaders.
Oh.
I don't know, like, maybe,
I don't know if they're up to that caliber.
but if they could do something, like, postseason, do some sort of event with the cheerleaders where they got involved.
That would be
so
good.
Fun. Okay.
All right, shall we reveal?
We shall reveal. Okay.
Oh,
Let's see.
you can't see mine.
No, you can see it. You can see it. Okay.
Who do
Here
you
we go.
have?
Oh, okay. Here's mine. Parent Trap,
Oh.
1. Camp Rock, 2. High School Musical, 3. Reagan, 4. And White Chicks, 5.
Okay.
Wait, let's see. What's yours?
We were kind of flipped, almost there. I had High School Musical at 1. I love High School Musical, so I had to put this one up top. Parent Trap, 2. Camp Rock, 3. The Olympics, 4, and I put White Chicks 5.
I've never seen White Chicks, so I
No,
don't
neither
know.
have I. We didn't really get that one.
But you know what? I love our rankings. I think these are really good. Yeah, I put Parent Trap first just because I thought the creativity with it being the London game too was so good, and they nailed that. Like, that was perfect.
It was perfect execution. So Laura, if you had to guess what might be next, do you have any clue?
I do. I don't really have a clue.
Wait, I kind of have a weird feeling that we're gonna say the same thing.
I think it should be the Hoedown Showdown.
Oh, I was gonna have you reflect at the
Oh.
same time as me, but
Oh,
I did
sorry.
not say Hoedown
Okay.
Showdown from Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, from Hannah Montana.
That's a really good guess.
And that's my guess. I think it's going to be the Hoedown Showdown, which is good because there's also a tutorial online for how to do the Hoedown.
How do you know this?
Throwdown. Because I was like trying to figure out, I'm like, what dance could they possibly do? And I'm like Googling some stuff last night. I was like, oh, Hoedown, Throwdown. And when I did the YouTube tutorial,
Now I
popped up.
have that song playing in my head as we speak. It's a Hoedown, Throwdown. Yeah.
Okay,
I won't
which
sing
one's
it.
yours?
I was gonna say "Single Ladies" by Beyonce.
Oh,
you know,
I like that one. Oh, single ladies. Oh,
Yeah.
single ladies.
I could see them doing that next.
Yeah, but is there a dance that goes with that?
I kind of just think but if you do it in like a line,
Yeah, maybe if
there's
they,
definitely some choreography in that music video.
definitely. No, you're right. Beyonce choreography, I don't know if they're up to that, but they could do their best. I'd love to see it. And you know what? Another athlete that's kind of been getting into the cellies a little bit, which is funny to see because he hasn't been super into like dancing in the past, is Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow hit the gritty.
He hit the gritty with Jamar Chase this past weekend. And you know what? I need to issue an apology to Joe Burrow because, what was it now? 4 weeks ago, after the Cowboys game, they were 5-8. And I said,
You got your moment, your solo shot.
here's my solo apology. I said way too confidently that Joe Burrow didn't need to worry about the playoffs because he would not be attending. And you know what? He still might not be attending, but there's like actually a chance now that he could be attending. And I didn't think that there was an ounce of possibility that would be happening 3 or 4 weeks ago.
No.
But leave it to Joe Burrow to like pull this team from the dead, from being down 0-3, from being down 4-8, pulls them back to 500. I mean, he has been the best player in the NFL the past couple of weeks.
Well, if you had asked anybody in the beginning of the season too, this team, nobody would have thought they'd be in this position. But
well, actually, at the beginning of the season, we did. But after those first 3 games,
after those first 3 games, people were out of it. But I'll tell you, who wasn't out of it. People in Cincinnati. Okay, I was in Ohio. I was in Cincinnati, literally across the street from the stadium during their last game, and I was at a wedding, and we were at the party after the wedding. Why am I blanking on the
reception?
The reception. We were at the reception, and people had their phones up, and like we all love the bride and groom, and the bride and groom were Cincy fans too, so this wasn't an issue. But people had their phones up watching the Bengals game go down, and people were throwing their towels in the air. They were doing Who Dey chants at the reception party of the wedding. It was just absolutely just so fun to be a part of, even just being from Boston. This was the scene.
Oh
towels
my gosh.
in the air, everybody's screaming.
You're not kidding.
Oh no, it was, I mean, somebody at the table behind me was like jumping up and down. It was such a fun just environment to be a part of in Ohio.
No, that's awesome. He was running off the field to MVP chants too. I mean, is he gonna win the MVP? I think if they don't make the playoffs, that's gonna be a stretch. But I mean, he has 42 touchdown passes right now, which is the most in the league. I saw somewhere that there has only been one player to reach 45 touchdown passes and not win the MVP. And it was either Aaron Rodgers or somebody else. I'm spacing on it right now. But the only reason they didn't win is because the other player Drew Brees. I think it was Drew Brees threw 45 touchdown passes, and the only reason why he didn't win was because Aaron Rodgers also threw 45 touchdown passes. So if he makes it to 45 touchdown passes, it would be unprecedented for him not to win. Anyways, but 3 things need to happen still for them to be able to make the playoffs. So I wrote down all 3. We're going to kind of debate whether or not this is going to happen. The Bengals need to beat the Steelers on Saturday on the road. The Steelers have lost 3 straight, and they're already like in the wild card, so they don't really have much to play for. I think that they are going to be the Steelers.
I think so too. And Joe Burrow, like you said, is on a roll. This is a team that is fighting for their life right now. And the Steelers are a little bit on that decline. They probably don't have a ton of confidence right now. So I'm going to take the Bengals as well.
Yeah, don't have a ton of confidence. Don't really have anything to play for. I know they obviously want to win because you want to have like those good vibes going into the playoffs. But I mean, I don't know. The Chiefs need to beat the Broncos on Sunday. Now, this one's kind of interesting. This one has gotten my mind thinking a lot. The Chiefs might sit some, key players for this game because they're also already in. But if Patrick Mahomes realizes that if the Chiefs lose, then the Bengals are out of the playoffs, like there's benefits for the Chiefs losing kind of in this situation, because I don't think I want the Bengals in the playoffs. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if they'll go that far.
No, they won't go that far. They're always going to try to win.
Right.
But it's a win-win situation for them.
Well, what's funny is that Bengals fans are already hyping up Carson Wentz because it looks like Carson Wentz will get the start for this game and potentially donating to his foundation because they really want the Chiefs to do well. They really want him to succeed. And also on Carson Wentz's side, this is a guy who, was formerly a starter, formerly an MVP candidate years ago with the Eagles, and now he's backing up one of the best quarterbacks in all of football, and he really wants this opportunity. He wants to do well. So not only is he wants them to win, but Bengals fans are already supporting Carson Wentz themselves.
I do think that the Chiefs are going to beat the Broncos. So I think that the first 2, I wouldn't say they're locks necessarily, but I think the odds are pretty good for Joe Burrow. It's the last one, though, that I think has Bengals fans a little bit nervous, and that's the Jets, who are 4-12, need to beat the Dolphins on Sunday. And the Dolphins are also fighting for a playoff spot as well. They're playing on the road, though, in New York in the cold. We know that they don't like that. But I think this is probably going to be the breaking point of these 3 things that need to break right for Bengals.
Well, here's the one thing with the Jets is that Aaron Rodgers is kind of in the need for an audition for maybe some other team. So not only is Carson Wentz looking to play really well, but also Aaron Rodgers, he really needs this. I don't even know. What are the Jets like? They've won 4 games, 3 games.
4-12,
so they need this. So a lot of people need this, but we'll see. Bengals. Who dey? Who dey?
The total odds right now for the Bengals making the playoffs, if you look at The Athletic, this is the site that I was looking at, I think it's 4 or 5% is what they're predicting, which, you know what, is better than I'm sure it was 4 weeks ago. And he is 4-0 after wearing that scratch pad outfit.
Oh man, you know what? I had a lot of fun using the scratch pad rainbow thing. So
I think you should wear it
maybe
again.
it's a good thing. All right, Joe, let's see it.
Like, do you think you should wear it, like, bust it out again?
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. Well, if you're enjoying this show, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, well, 2025 is here, but first we're going to reflect on 2024. I know we've listed out each of our favorite sports moments from the year. We did them in chronological order. We're going to share them with you guys. Let us know, like, if you have another one that we've missed. As we were going through this, we kept thinking, like, is there one that we're missing that's so
There's definitely
obvious?
something.
There's definitely
we were on the phone yesterday. We're like, there's definitely something we're missing.
And, you know, there's a lot of stuff, though, that we could have put in here, too, that we didn't. We're just, like, saying the stuff that really resonated with us. And the first thing of this year that really resonated with me this year was when Kansas City won the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift was on the field. And you know what? I've kind of gotten used to the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing at this point. So, you know, a three-peat would be cool. I would love to see Taylor on the field again. I don't necessarily need it. In this moment, I was like, I need to see this. And, like, I wanted to see, was she actually going to go down on the field or not? And she did. Like, she was there with all the other wives and girlfriends. It was awesome.
It was so awesome. And I loved it because it was such a candid moment. Mm-hmm. And to see her in that environment and just the storyline, like the Chiefs were doing so well. Nobody knew if they were in the relationship. Then they, you know, became boyfriend and girlfriend in front of the whole entire world.
Like, they're saying I love you in front of everybody. It was amazing.
They were talking about how she was going to get from one concert to the Super Bowl. Like, it was like a literal movie.
She was in Tokyo, I think.
And then they got the kiss on camera. Like, it was the whole thing. It was like a fairy tale ending. And that was so fun.
No, that was so good. Like, I wish I could go back to that moment and replay it again. And, you know, I feel bad for Brock Purdy because I think in a normal year, like, I would have wanted the 49ers to win just because of Purdy's story. But I was like, no, I got to see Taylor Swift on the field if they win this. Okay, the next event that really stuck out to me as, like, this is one of my favorite moments was the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. But really, obviously, you know, a great game, but the viewership numbers. It was the first time ever that the Women's Basketball Championship surpassed the Men's Championship. I just thought that was really incredible. And it's, like, shows just how far women's basketball has come in the last year.
Yeah, it's absolutely just so impressive to see and how dominant these teams are and just the level that they're playing at. I played AU basketball my whole life, and women's college basketball those are the girls who I was looking up to. Those are the programs that I was following. And like we were talking about UConn earlier, like in the excellence of their program. Yes, they haven't won in a few years, but like you can still feel the championship level focus and the attention to detail that program puts in, like a South Carolina, like a UCLA, like a USC. And so I'm excited for March Madness this year to come up and see who's going to take it home.
All right. Well, Annabelle, this next one is very personal to you.
Yes.
So,
all right. I actually forgot to write. This was
I know.
the one that
I actually was like, wait, Annabelle, we have to do this.
This is the one that I forgot. BC Women's Lacrosse bringing home their second title in 4 years, getting to bookend it with my senior class was absolutely incredible. And kind of like I said earlier, Kate Taylor, that girl and her class and the classes that came before my senior class were the women who paved the way for us. And just to have the Eagles back on top, very exciting.
Honestly, I was thinking about it for you, Annabelle. Like, what an amazing year. You win your second national championship. You graduate. You're traveling. Like, you've done so many cool things. Like, 2024 has got to go down. It's like a real year in the books for you.
It was an awesome year. It was a hard year for sure. And there are a lot of people who supported me along the way. I think what was really awesome to reflect on 2024 is like and girls on the Penn State women's volleyball team talked about this. They were saying, hey, you know, some of the best players like, hey, well, I was hearing this from the girls on the bench, and this is what, you know, fans were saying to us or family members. And that's really how I felt with all the things with our BC women's lacrosse experience. And even Laura, like, I would get on the phone, Laura, I just did this in, you know, something in media. She's like, don't worry, that happened to me, you know, at this time, whatever. So many people have poured into the craziness of my life this year. But yeah, it's been pretty wild.
All right. Well, you set off a championship run in Boston because there was another team that won the championship next.
Yes, the Boston Celtics bring home banner 18. So exciting. And I was not here for the parade. So that'll be my goal in 2025, to be here when they do win it again, which is very probable because this team is looking like they could run it back, get another championship, and just so cool to see what Joe Mazzulla has done with this team and for this city of champions. So it just feels right.
I know, and it had been since, can you believe it, 2018. My eyes are like
gosh.
kind of rolling. It's so long, but it's cool to see the duck boats get busted out again. And I remember walking through the public garden, and the little Make Way for Duckling statues were all dressed up in Celtics gear during the championship. No, that was awesome. Such a fun month in Boston. Okay, the next thing that I was like, we got to put this down. USA Team Gymnastics takes gold in Paris, as well as Simone Biles wins the all-around championship. And I watched the Simone Biles documentary over Christmas. My brother and I watched it together, which was really fun. And I just think I forgot or didn't really realize in the moment how close that all-around individual final was between her and Rebecca Andrade, who ended up in second. But those were some incredible vaults, incredible performances by all of Team USA, as well as Simone Biles. And it was really cool to get to see them come back and win gold this year.
That was so fun. And another Olympic star that I absolutely loved coming out, really, and more so in the public eye in 2024, Ilona Maher getting to just have her success on the rugby field, but then also in Dancing with the Stars. Like, what a superstar that she became. I absolutely love watching her. I love from the Instagram videos, TikToks, to like the ads that she does. So funny. She just is so real and so relatable. And also her other co-star on Dancing with the Stars, Steven. So fun to just see how they've taken their athletic abilities and go into Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, honestly, like I've never really been a huge Dancing with the Stars person, but still that pommel horse routine that Steven did like takes my breath away. And that was definitely kind of like, I know it's a little bit stretching because it's not necessarily like a sports event, but it kind of felt like a sports event. There's
totally
athletes competing for a title. So
it totally was.
You know what? I thought that was one of my favorites as well. My very last one that I want to talk about is Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of the World Series. I mean, it's never happened before. A walk-off grand slam in the World Series. It's never happened before. And just for it to happen to Freddie Freeman, who went through so much this year with his son being sick, with, his finger being broken, an ankle injury, and for him to kind of like rise above all of that and then have that moment was so impressive. And obviously, like World Series MVP, but I also just think yes. But also, like, I just think it's really interesting because when you look at this day and age of Major League Baseball, especially in the past couple of years, performances at first base have been down a little bit, like in terms of their performances at the plate. And he showed that, like, having a dominant first baseman can go a long way in a really big moment. So
these were some big time moments from 2024. So 2025, here we go. Got to live up to it.
Yes, here we go, 2025. So with that, thank you so much for watching this episode of Respect Her Game and for following us all throughout 2024. And we're really excited to bring you another great year of this show.